In this episode of Spooky News, let's just unpack this truly strange story. It's a bizarre incident that happened on an American Airlines flight. Just imagine, okay, you're settling in for a routine flight. It's Monday night, March 10th. You're heading from Savannah, Georgia to Miami. And suddenly, things take a really unsettling turn, all thanks to one passenger. This guy, a 31-year-old named Delange Augustin. Shortly after takeoff, Augustin reportedly started acting really strange. I mean, really disturbing. We're talking violent outbursts, like he was throwing punches and even kicking a flight attendant. Then, get this, the reports say he swallowed a rosary. But wait, there's more. Augustin's sister, she was traveling with him, and she was reportedly chanting or singing during all of this. Witnesses described it as, eerie. So for this deep dive, we're going to look closely at these news accounts and try to, understand what happened on that flight, what exactly unfolded, and what might have been behind it all. Okay, so the news reports tell us the disruption began pretty soon after takeoff. Apparently, there was some turbulence, which, let's be honest, can be unnerving for anyone. But for DeLange Augustin, it seems to have been a way more than just unnerving. One passenger, Rob Rosenberg, he spoke with CBS Miami, and he described Augustin initially shaking very violently and screaming. Rosenberg said at first, some passengers thought Augustin might be having a seizure, which, is a natural assumption in that situation. But then, according to Rosenberg, things escalated quickly. Augustin started stomping his feet and screaming, what Rosenberg described as almost like a chant. And what was he saying? Well, the reports say he was talking about devils and possession. Rosenberg himself said it was a see it to believe it sort of thing, which, really highlights how out of the ordinary this was. Then things took a violent turn. A flight attendant approached Augustin, likely to offer assistance or see what was going on. But the news reports state that Augustin reacted by kicking the flight attendant in the chest, hard enough that they were sent flying across the aisle, and they actually hit a window. That's a crazy level of violence in such a small space. So, given this assault and the, rapidly escalating situation, the pilot decided to turn the plane around, head back to Savannah. Rosenberg said Augustin was so violent, and even while the plane was returning to Savannah, the disruption continued. Augustin reportedly started destroying the seat in front of him, punching and kicking it over and over. It sounds like the cabin, even though there were only about 8 passengers, must have been total chaos. Everyone must have been terrified. So the plane lands back in Savannah, but things didn't calm down. As soon as the doors opened, Augustin reportedly charged towards the front exit, still swinging his fists. And his sister, who had been chanting during the flight, she followed right behind him. This is where other passengers, including Rosenberg and his friend, stepped in. They managed to physically restrain Augustin on the ground until law enforcement arrived. But even then, the struggle wasn't over. This is where it gets even weirder. While he was being held down, Augustin reportedly grabbed his sister's hair and pants, and he wouldn't let go. According to Rosenberg, the authorities had to use a taser on Augustin, not once, but 3 times. And he still wouldn't let go. Eventually, they had to cut the sister's hair to get him to release his grip. I mean, can you imagine seeing that happen? And then there's the detail that really stands out in all of this. Augustin swallowing the rosary. Witnesses, including Rosenberg, they saw Augustin swallow the rosary beads while he was being restrained on the ground. It's such a bizarre and unsettling thing to do. It adds another layer of strangeness to the whole incident. Later, when the authorities questioned them, Augustin's sister offered an explanation, and, well, it's a very unusual one. She reportedly told them that her brother swallowed the rosary because it's a weapon of strength in spiritual warfare. She also said, according to an affidavit mentioned in the news reports, that they were traveling to Haiti, specifically to flee religious attacks of a spiritual nature. So that gives us a possible reason for their distress and these extreme actions, but it's definitely not a straightforward or, universally understood explanation. The affidavit also revealed that during the flight, Augustin had warned his sister to close her eyes and pray because, and I quote, Satan's disciples had followed them onto the plane and the Legion did not want the Augustins to make it to Haiti. This really suggests someone experiencing extreme paranoia and a strong belief in some kind of spiritual persecution. So let's put it all together. We've got these violent outbursts from Delange Augustin, including the assault on a flight attendant. We've got the plane turning back to Savannah because of his behavior. Then the disturbing image of him swallowing a rosary. We also have his sister chanting throughout the ordeal. And then their explanation for traveling to Haiti, to escape what they believed were religious attacks of a spiritual nature. With the rosary being seen as a weapon of strength in the spiritual battle, it's like something out of a movie, isn't it? Rob Rosenberg, the passenger who witnessed it all, he called it the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. He even said he believed they were possessed Now, that's his personal interpretation, but it shows just how unsettling and inexplicable this whole thing was for those on board. In the end, after all chaos, Delange Augustin was taken to a hospital, I guess because of swallowing the rosary beads. After that, he was booked in jail and now faces charges of misdemeanor battery and criminal property damage. So it's a truly bizarre and disturbing incident, and it leaves us with so many questions. What was really going on with these two individuals? And what about the intensity of their beliefs that seem to be driving their actions? It's a reminder that even in ordinary settings like an airplane, the unexpected can happen, and sometimes it's profoundly unsettling. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Have any spooky news of your own to share? Email us at spookyYTnews@gmail.com. Remember, stay spooky.